rights deed across the table and watching 35 luxury homes in Cedar Hollow turn into an accidental lakefront. The Cedar Hollow HOA thought they could seize my grandfather's ranch while I was deployed in Syria, building their pristine suburban utopia on stolen land, complete with athleisure-clad enforcers, patrolling in golf carts, oblivious to my Army Corps engineering expertise and the quiet earth dam on my property, waiting 47 years for someone foolish enough to build downstream, their arrogance. Breathtaking until I opened the spillway gates, and their upscale enclave met nature's wrath in a controlled flood that promised sweet justice. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below. Because you're about to witness the ultimate HOA takedown, blending federal water law and gravity's unrelenting force. I'm Lucas Bennett, 34, Army Corps of Engineers veteran and third generation, owner of 47 acres of prime Oregon land just outside Bend, inherited from my grandfather, Pops, who bought it in 1953 when Bend was a quiet logging town and craft breweries were decades away from outnumbering sawmills. Pops was a steward of the land, building a modest earth dam in 1976 with Army Corps guidance to collect rainwater for cattle and support downstream neighbors during dry spells. Always saying the back 40 acres would one day be gold, though he cherished its rolling hills where I learned to fish and camp. My 2 tours in Syria, managing water infrastructure in a war zone, taught me water's value and the fierce battles it sparks. But while I was overseas, Pops passed, leaving the property in a trust managed by my overworked sister Clara in Idaho, who knows as much about Oregon land law as I do about pottery, hiring Cascade Property Services to handle taxes and upkeep, never checking the tax assessments, a critical mistake. Enter Patricia Patty Shelton, 52, Cedar Hollow HOA president, driving a white Lexus RX and treating yoga pants like a power suit, her polished passive-aggressive charm perfected by age 45, smiling while scheming, married to City Councilman Evan Shelton, her connections ensuring her influence, known for neighborhood improvement campaigns that pushed out anyone clashing with her vision of suburban perfection. Her floral perfume barely masking the vape cloud and entitlement trailing her. I returned in August 2023, driving down the familiar dirt road past the cedar tree where I'd carved my initials as a kid, expecting open fields and the dam's shimmer, but instead found construction crews, cement trucks, and survey stakes across my back 40 like a suburban siege, the crunch of gravel under my boots, fueling my fury as I confronted the foreman, who shrugged. "We've got permits. This is Cedar Hollow property now." Calling the police, Officer Ramirez arrived, visibly uneasy, explaining the HOA's adverse possession claim filed while I was overseas, a law meant to prevent abandoned land but weaponized by developers to expand their empires. Then Patty rolled up in her golf cart, her voice dripping with condescension. "Your family neglected this land, Han. We're making it useful for the community." Her words stoking my rage as I noticed her crews had diverted Pine Creek, feeding Pop's Dam, its water level dropping daily, undoing 47 years of careful management that sustained neighbors through droughts and floods. Her parting shot. "You should have stayed closer to home, soldier." Igniting a war, not just over land, but principle. Hiring a lawyer was my first misstep. He quoted $90,000 to challenge the zoning change, which Evan had fast-tracked from agricultural to residential in a blatant conflict of interest. But my Army Corps training kicked in, digging through county records like I was hunting insurgents, unearthing Pop's 1976 dam permits, revealing federal jurisdiction no HOA could override, a legal gem. Federally guided dams trump local claims. The metallic taste of adrenaline hit as I found a 1925 water rights deed, giving my great-grandfather senior rights to Pine Creek, predating Bend, its water system, and every McMansion on my land, meaning they weren't just stealing dirt, but my water. Patty played the victim, calling an emergency HOA meeting about the hazardous dam, tipped off to local news, appearing on Channel 6 in front of her manicured lawn, dabbing her eyes, claiming, "We're protecting our kids." That dam could burst. Despite its recent safety inspection passing flawlessly, her next doorpost warning of unstable individuals clearly targeting me without naming me, the Diesel and Pine Pollen in the August air heavy as I watched construction crews race to finish homes before I could secure an injunction, the dam's water dropping an inch daily. I called my Army buddy Mark Evans at the EPA, who confirmed diverting Pine Creek without federal permits violated the Clean Water Act, fines starting at $50,000 daily, and my dam's federal status sealed their fate, shifting this from a property spat to a federal case. Documenting everything, trail cameras, time-stamped photos of water diversions, flow measurements. I refused Clara's pleas to settle. This wasn't about money, but the grind of construction boots on my land, Patty's heels clicking in zoning hearings, and the bitter courthouse coffee during research revealing her corruption's depth, her crews turning Pop's community serving dam into a decorative pond for luxury homes. Patty escalated, launching a safety patrol of HOA members in branded polos, photographing visitors, logging plates, and filing suspicious activity reports, citing my farmhouse, standing since 1960, for unsightly structures despite recent inspections, Evan ordering a veteran wellness check, claiming I was a troubled vet. The social worker apologetic but thorough as Patty watched from her cart, followed by a regulatory onslaught, building inspector, fire marshal, health department, animal control, all on one day. The inspector, Evan's friend, demanding $9,000 in porch repairs, a classic squeeze play I recognized from war zones. But I countered, Mark revealing the HOA skipped wetlands assessments. And the development sat in a 100-year floodplain, insurance secured through fraudulent flood mitigation claims diverting Pine Creek to flood my land. A federal mail fraud offense. Patty's past mirrored this. Her Portland HOA paid a $2.5 million EPA fine for a similar scheme, fleeing to Bend to pray anew, spreading rumors of my violent tendencies, hiring a PI to dig into my service, and petitioning to condemn my property as a public nuisance, quoting, "We can't have unstable individuals endangering kids." I allied with victims, Mrs. Wong, whose family orchard died without creek water, and Carlos Rivera, whose farm was rezoned out of existence by Evan 2 years prior, revealing a pattern of land grabs, my drone mapping 5 homes in the creek's historic flood path. Their decorative creek beds useless against real flow, while Pop's Dam was built for flood control. A certified letter announced eminent domain to seize my land for public safety in 2 weeks. Patty offering $190,000 for property worth $900,000. A newspaper hit piece branding me a troubled vet blocking progress, and Patty staging a photo op with 20 mothers and kids near my property line. Hashtags like hashtag protect our kids going viral, but Mark confirmed an EPA probe into Pine Creek diversions tied to Patty's Portland fine, and the HOA's loans relied on my stolen water rights, meaning their financial house would collapse if I reclaimed them. Patty offered $420,000 cash, then flew to Idaho to manipulate Clara with tales of my mental health issues, backfiring when Clara threatened FBI involvement, while I partnered with environmental lawyer Sophie Lang, who took pro bono water rights cases, joining forces with downstream farmers like Carlos, whose family used Pine Creek since 1885, and Mrs. Wong, with photos of her 1940s orchard, the Audubon Society noting the diversion killed protected willow sparrow habitats, drawing federal scrutiny. Night patrols revealed Pop's Dam had a 1976 emergency spillway, unopened since 1980, still functional for controlled flooding. My calculations showing 2.9 million gallons needed to restore the creek, the dam holding 3.2 million after rains. Drone surveys confirming 3 homes with basements below the flood mark, their concrete barriers sealing their doom. Heavy September rains forecast providing cover for emergency maintenance. A 1925 flood management covenant mandating natural flow preservation, trumping HOA claims. Sophie uncovering fraudulent insurance applications claiming no flood risk. A federal crime carrying prison time. Evans' company the primary investor, never recusing himself from council votes. EPA reports showing the diversion killed protected silver minnows, buried by Evan, and loan documents falsely claiming temporary diversions, risking $13 million in immediate repayment if my rights were restored. Pop's 1979 journal broke my heart. Open spillway. Saved Rivera's crops and 4 others. showing his dam was about community, not profit. Patty's diversion creating upstream flood risks, my spillway the only safe solution, with rains looming and federal inspections a month away. A controlled release could prove violations without harm. The moral clarity hitting as I read Pop's words at sunset by the dam controls, not revenge, but restoration of a 47-year legacy. This was a military operation with legal cover, Sophie filing water rights restoration motions, Mark ensuring EPA agents saw the natural flooding demonstration, Carlos documenting decades of downstream damage, Mrs. Wong offering her land as a staging area, her community respect and valuable, my plan releasing 2.9 million gallons over 4 hours starting at 6 a.m., peaking at 10 a.m., warning signs posted, fire department notified, Sophie alerting the Bend Bulletin and Channel 6, Carlos rallying farmers, Mrs. Wong monitoring HOA chatter via gossip. Networks, a diner waitress, Carlos' cousin, reporting council meetings, an army buddy providing drone footage, Sophie tipping insurers and regulators about fraud, the weather aligning with heavy rains. In 72 hours, EPA inspections moved up, Patty predictably calling an emergency meeting and smear campaign, countered by Sophie's preemptive filings, evidence preserved with photos, videos, and historical records, safety protocols including bilingual notices and an unneeded evacuation plan. The dam's WD-40 scented controls tested perfectly, Pop's engineering flawless. Patty hired private security, caught on camera jamming concrete into spillway hydraulics at 2 a.m., arrested by Deputy Lopez after Mark's tip, Patty on Channel 6 claiming I'd weaponized water like in Syria. Evan citing catastrophic dam risks, ignoring its perfect inspections, wiretaps revealing their panic, a restraining order hearing set for 6 a.m. by Evan's judge friend Walter Hayes, who took $16,000 in campaign funds from Evan, Sophie demanding his recusal, Patty staging a protest with 20 residents and #ProtectOurKids signs, Carlos countering with 30 farmers, Mrs. Wong with historical photos, Audubon and Sierra Club reps attending, concrete sabotage cleared with a jackhammer, Evan declaring my dam a public hazard, Fire Chief Lopez warning I had 6 hours, insurers freezing HOA policies, Patty claiming I'd made suicide threats to veteran services, a social worker arriving at 5:30 a.m. as I prepped the spillway, Clara pleading. This isn't what Pops wanted. But his journal's words, stand up to bullies, steeled me. At 7:02 a.m., with EPA agents watching and dawn painting the sky gold, I opened the spillway to 25%, the water's gentle rush like a homecoming. Pine Creek flowing in its original bed for the first time in 18 months. Carlos cupping the water, tears falling. This fed my great-grandfather's fields, Patty screaming at agents to arrest the terrorist. EPA's Rachel Lee calmly stating my legal rights. Patty's Facebook Live spiraling into hysteria. He's flooding our homes, though the water stayed in its natural banks. Channel 6 helicopters capturing the flow, a Bend Bulletin reporter asking, how is water in its original bed an attack? As Patty's narrative crumbled, Evan yelling about property values on a recorded call, Rachel confirming the flow matched historical patterns, Mrs. Wong's orchard reviving, farmers reporting restored stock ponds, the diner owner bringing coffee and scones, saying, my pa farmed here, this is right. Even Patty's supporters slipping away, insurers issuing a work stoppage, Patty's own policy at risk, Evan sending concrete trucks to block the creek. Arrested for federal interference, Fire Chief Lopez demanding Evan's resignation, Mark calling it a smoking gun for RICO charges, Patty yelling, you've ruined 35 families. My reply clear, no. You can buy water rights like everyone else. Carlos' family brought empanadas, Mrs. Wong a tea ceremony to bless the creek, the fight not about revenge but Pop's community legacy. Judge Hayes. Courtroom at 2 p.m. was electric, packed with media, farmers, HOA residents, and agents. Patty in a navy suit with high-powered Portland lawyers, me in a flannel and Pop's cowboy hat. Her team claiming $2.8 million in flood damage. A psychiatrist diagnosing combat vengeance. From clippings, Sophie presenting the 1925 covenant mandating flooding. Rachel testifying no damage occurred. Photos proving natural patterns. Mark detailing 3 federal violations, fraud, and silver minnow deaths. Hay squirming as Evan admitted zoning conflicts under oath. His recorded outburst. This is a setup. Sealing the conspiracy. Carlos choking up about his lost farm. Mrs. Wong showing withered orchard photos. Lopez praising the spillway's safety. Farmers confirming restored water. Patty accusing me of psychological warfare. Sophie revealing her Portland $2.5 million fine. The prosecutor announcing interstate fraud charges. Hayes denying restraints, ordering no interference. Evan escorted out. Patty fleeing reporters. 6 months later, justice flowed. Evan pleaded guilty to conspiracy, getting 3 years. Patty faced $9 million in penalties. Filing bankruptcy. Their company paying $13 million in EPA fines. Banned from federal contracts. The HOA dissolved. Replaced by a community association prioritizing sustainability. My land valued at $1.3 million with environmental protections. $350,000 from fraud settlements returning Carlos Farm. The creek boosting ecotourism, kayaking, and fishing. Mrs. Wong's orchard a sustainability hub. Farms yielding record crops. The diner a restoration hub. Silver minnows recovering. Audubon noting 13 bird species returning. The creek a protected corridor. My operation in Army Corps manuals. I renovated Pop's farmhouse sustainably. Clara moved to help run our agritourism. Sophie and I bonded over the fight. Our case inspiring statewide water rights challenges, federal guidelines citing us. The Pops Bennett Environmental Scholarship aiding students like Carlos' son Mateo, studying at OSU. The Creek Days Festival celebrating resilience, raising funds for water rights defense. Kids splashing in the creek where homes were planned. A Pine Creek Conservation Trust ensuring no future theft. Patty's Portland HOA facing RICO charges. 147 families filing similar suits. A movement born from one vet stand. My porch evenings watching the creek a reminder that some fights, backed by community and law, are worth everything. What's your HOA horror story? Was Patty a greedy opportunist or a product of a corrupt system? Debate below and share your thoughts on justice and community power. Subscribe for more stories of people toppling corrupt systems. And next week, hear how a farmer cut power to City Hall during a mayor's gala to save her wind farm. Another tale of grit and justice flowing free.